Welcome to another edition of Zach's Rank Buy. I am Brian Bolin. I'm the aggressive growth stock strategist here at Zach's Investment Research, and I got two more stocks for your aggressive growth radar screen. The first one is going to be one of my favorite names, and we'll get to that in a second. But as you can tell, I'm not wearing glasses today because I'm hoping Jessica Alba will notice this video, watch it, comment, do something about it, tell me how good I'm looking, and maybe a little treatment for my terrible freckle in my eye, because I know she has skincare treatment. So I think I've already kind of let you know what the second stock's going to be. But let's get back to Prairie Operating Company. That's our first stock. It's aggressive growth. It's PROP. P-R-O-P is the ticker. It's a Zach's rank number one. That makes it a strong buy, a B for growth, and a C for value. The idea of my growth videos is all about a strong growth score. I like to see normally a weak value score because that tells me right away I'm on the right path. All right, this is a $239 million company, oil company based out of Colorado. The other day they had a big announcement. They're going to buy the assets of Bayswater for $602 million. And you think to yourself, boy, how could a company that's $240 million buy something that's worth $602 million? Well, they do have a $1 billion credit facility from Citigroup that they're going to obviously tap some of that. But they also announced an offering of $200 to up to $250 million in stock. So up to 52 million shares, then that's going to cause a whole lot of dilution. So what we had was the stock going down after the announcement of the deal. But it hasn't been priced. And it's been well over a week now. So a lot of investors are thinking, hey, maybe there isn't going to be this massive dilution, and maybe they're going to use more of the credit facility. And if you do that, and suddenly you have, you buy a $600 million asset, and you add your $200 million asset, it's an $800 million in total assets. That's what I would think, and that should send this stock like this. It'll go off the chart, I think. But you never know. We got to see. We got to wait to see if this deal gets canceled or not. So we'll take a look right now at the numbers that we always love to look at for any stock. How are you doing? Are you beating the number or not? All right. So they're losing a lot of money up front because they weren't drilling. They weren't where they were drilling, but they weren't yet pulling the oil up out of the ground yet. So we had some misses and some big red ugly numbers. But as we look at the estimates, this estimate really declined. It went from making 11 cents down to losing 12 cents. So that's not that great. But we see for next quarter, and that'll be the first quarter of 2025, you go from making 32 cents to $1.18. That's a big kind of move here. This is probably just some dirty noise that they're kind of kitchen sinking that last quarter of the year for 2024. Obviously there was a gain here, so they're moving it. And then you see that number go from a loss of $1.75 to a loss of $2.31. Now, this calendar year, we see the number going from $2.44 to $4.78. So overnight, we doubled our earnings. That makes this PE pretty small. So now let's take a look at what's going to happen here to revenue. We're looking at about $12 million in revenue. And that's because there was all that prep work of the drilling going on throughout the year. At the end of the year, they started actually pulling up oil. And yeah, it was a big number, 677% growth, but that's from a base of, basically nothing. Now we're going to go and look at right about $700 million in revenue. So going from 12 to 700 million. Oftentimes people see like a huge growth number there, and it's a great sign to short it, but Prairie Operating Company is able to put up an even bigger number next year. Look at that. I don't even want to say that number. It's so gigantic. I know I'd screw it up. But it looks north of 5,600%. But $700 million in sales. What's going on with our valuation with a stock that's pulling oil up? Really huge increase in oil. I see a 1.9 times forward PE right now. That is immeasurably low. Not immeasurably, they measured it down to 1.9, but it is incredibly low. Price to book is 3.4 right now. But obviously they're going to be picking up more assets, $600 million more in assets. So that number is going to drop dramatically. There hasn't been margins yet because they just basically started pulling that oil out of the ground. But it's a transformative deal. There is no doubt about it. It is a big deal. It's a big thing. It's under the radar of a lot of people here because it's so small. It's Prairie Operating Company. Let's take a look at the chart. Now, when we looked at this chart, my producer, Jay, he said, boy, that looks stupid. Looks ugly. Well, they weren't really a company there. They were a company maybe like here in 23. I think they spawned out of Nickel Creek, which was like a crypto name. And it had, they had to do stock splits, reverse stock splits to get it back down. And so this chart doesn't really tell us much of anything. So I'm going to flip here to this. This is just over the last year. You can see the stock was $15 a share. Investors just got tired of waiting. Stock was down a lot and they end up selling. But then at this point right here, the company guided for the full year 7,000 to 8,000 barrels per day. And then once they made this acquisition, you can see volume really picked up here in trading. And their guidance went from 7,000 to 8,000 barrels per day to around 30,000 barrels per day. So, that's why you had that gigantic spike in interest. So we're going to see what happens with the offering, but it is definitely a name to keep your eye on. It is Prairie Operating Company. PROP is the ticker. All right, let's go to Jessica Alba. I know she's been waiting for this. I made her sit through PROP, but she's going to be very happy she did if she invests in PROP too. All right, honest company, HNST. It's a Zacks rank. Number one, that's a strong buy. A for growth, D for value. Just what I love to see. Growth investors, value investors look for different things. And when I see the scores, so completely different, or as I like to say, divergence, then I know I'm on the right path. All right, so this is a $600 million company. 632 to be exact. They're going to be reporting earnings coming up here next week, February 26th after the market close. I just want to cheat just a little bit here. I want to take a look at the chart because we had a boom goes the dynamite quarter right here. So let's keep that in mind as we think about what's happening. So this thing went from 4 to 8, has come back into 6. That's obviously something's happening here with the sanitizers and soaps and cosmetics products that Jessica Alba makes. If she's got something to help remove a nasty freckle on my eye, close to my eye, I would love it. Reach out to me, Jessica. bbolin@zacks.com. Okay, what's going on with the numbers we love to see? We've been beating the number. We're beating it handily. We proved in the fourth quarter last year that we could make money. So everyone's expecting money to be made this year. Then a small loss, but management talked to Wall Street into a bigger, the idea of a bigger loss, and they were able to beat. So we've got the fourth quarter's numbers coming in, and as retail, as we all know, that's the quarter they make their money. And they have sandbagged this one pretty well because they're telling everyone, hey, last year we made a penny, but this year we're going to look at 2 cents as a loss. But the first quarter is going to be a gain of a penny. No real movement here in the Zacks estimates. Okay, so for 2024, a loss of 7 cents. But here's why it's a Zacks rank number one, because in the last 60 days, the estimates went from 2 cents to 4 cents for this calendar year, 2025. So they're going to make money this year, and investors love to see it when a company makes money. I love to see you having good growth. All right, so $375 million in sales this year. It's 8.8%. And then next year, we're going to go up to just shy of $400 million, 6% growth. So that's good to see. Let's take a look at our valuation metrics. This one's going to stop a lot of people in their tracks. It's 167 times forward earnings. Now, that's because they're just going to make a penny or two. And that's what happens, especially when the stock moves up big. All right, price to book at 4.7 times. Value investors want to see it, that number less than 3. I'm okay with that number at this point, and I'm okay with it being stretched. I mean, it's got Jessica Alba working there. 1.7 times price to sales. We've seen good growth over the last quarter, 15% top line growth. Margins going from negative 3.5% to negative 1.1%. Keep that up, and you're going to be profitable. And this is pending next report, but we know that it's going to be a profitable quarter. We think that it's going to be. Estimates are for a loss of 2 cents. I want to see Jessica Alba make a profit in this quarter because that's going to move that stock up. All right, so a lot of interest when it comes public, and I guess that was the pandemic. and we're coming back from the pandemic. A tech wreck happened here, but it's not really a tech stock, but it just kind of fell out of favor. You would think with the hand sanitizers, they would have done a lot better here, but it didn't work out that way. But here's the story on this. So we were missing the number here. We're beating the number here. And the estimates are really trending higher every year. So is now the time to think about getting in on the Honest Company. And honestly, I think it is, because we had that big beat last quarter, popped up, we've come back, and it's time to head higher. So I like that stock to move higher. It's Jessica Alba's own The Honest Company. Be sure to join me next week when I look at 2 more stocks for your aggressive growth radar screen. But until then, why don't you go to Zacks.com/promo to check out all of our latest promotions.